In this video, I want to describe the train order control system that the dispatcher uses on the Columbia and Western to indicate to crews when they need to stop to pick up orders. The system is made up of a dispatcher panel, which is resident on a small portable laptop computer that's written in JMRI, Java Model Railroad Interface with Panel Pro. There are a number of active elements that allow the dispatcher to actually turn on and off the train order signals, and it reflects back the acknowledged signals that the crew uses to acknowledge that they picked up and received orders. On the actual layout itself, there are 6 train order stations. This is the train order station for South Slocan. It has both eastbound and westbound indicators and controls. On the westbound side, for example, there is a green LED that indicates that there are no orders and the crew is free to proceed. If the dispatcher wants to pass orders to the crew, they will set the stop order button, which will set this to red. It will also turn a semaphore and put it in the stop position. We'll demonstrate that. The crew will then stop, proceed to the pigeonhole slot where the dispatcher will have passed orders into the crew. They'll go to the South Slocan westbound pigeonhole slot, pick up the orders, read them, and if everything's fine, they will press the acknowledge button. This panel's not wired in right now, but I'll show how it works on the breadboard in a second. Press the acknowledge button, which will set the acknowledge button light to clear, indicating to the dispatcher that the crew has picked up and received and understands their orders, and leave it to the dispatcher to clear the stop order back to clear, and once that's been done, the crew is free to proceed. So it's a little different variation than on the prototype. The prototype would have established a stop semaphore, and as soon as the crew has picked up and received the orders, they're free to proceed, and the semaphore would have stayed stopped for 20 minutes after the train. In the Columbia and Western, we're using it as actually a stop signal as well as a stop for order signal. So now I'll demonstrate a little bit about what's happening on the JMRI Panel Pro. So at the top we have the schematic showing from east to west the layout of the boundary sub from Nelson through South Slocan, 1 train order station, Castlegar 2nd, Shields, which is a blind siding, Corkendall, Farron, both of those being train order stations, Fife, another blind siding, and then Cascade, which is the end of the model portion. Grand Forks and points to the west, including Midway and Phoenix, are represented by west staging. There is also one other train order station on the Slocan branch, midway up at Rosebery. So those are the 6. South Slocan, Castlegar, Corkendall, Farron, Cascade, and then on the Slocan branch, Rosebery. Underneath it, we have the 6 sets of train order controls. At the top, we have the indicators for the eastbound signals for trains that are proceeding eastbound, and then below that the westbound signals. Each signal is made up of a switch that when the dispatcher clicks on it, it will set the position. They have to then enter a code button before the code is sent. That will set not only the indicator light on the switch to red, it will also set the semaphore signal above it to red. At that point, the crew would need to acknowledge, and they do that by pressing a button that they've received their orders. Once and only once that button has been pressed, then the dispatcher can reset the semaphore to proceed. I'm showing that again. So in this case, if the train crew has acknowledged their orders on the westbound, the bell will ring and the acknowledge light will start to flash. That will indicate to the dispatcher that they can clear that signal. I'll now demonstrate the hardware side on the layout. In addition to the panel, there's also a semaphore, which is night and all powered. Right now I just have this single prototype. Eventually I'll have to build up the 6 that are required for the rest of the layout. There's another video on YouTube that describes that. And here's the breadboard indicating the LEDs and the control system that will be resident in each one of the east and west sides of the train orders. So in this case, the semaphore has been set to stop. This is for South Slocan. On the dispatcher panel, perhaps you can see it here. That's been set to stop. I will then, the train crew, once they've picked up their orders, will press the acknowledge button. The acknowledge light will start to flash on the dispatcher panel and will glow white on the train order panel that's mounted on the fascia. The dispatcher can then see that, reset, and code, which will reset the semaphore and change the panel light to green, indicating proceed. So I'll reset that to red. So the semaphore has gone down. The red LED on the train order panel has been set to red. This is an indicator. Both of them are indicators to the train crews that are now heading eastbound that they have to stop and pick up orders. Once they've picked up those orders, they'll hit the acknowledge button. Rings on the dispatcher panel, sets the acknowledge light both on the dispatcher panel and on the train order panel on the fascia, and then the dispatcher will reset that signal. And that's it.